How the American Revolution changed the world. The American Revolution 177-51783 was a transformative event that reshaped the political landscape of the world. It marked the first successful colonial revolt against a European power, setting a precedent for democratic governance and inspiring revolutions across the globe. The revolution's impact extended beyond the creation of the United States, influencing political ideologies, economic structures, and social hierarchies worldwide. Causes of the American Revolution: taxation without representation. One of the primary causes of the American Revolution was British taxation policies. The Sugar Act, 1764, the Stamp Act, 1765, and the Townshend Act, 1767, imposed taxes on the American colonies without their representation in the British Parliament. This led to growing resentment and the rallying cry, "No taxation without representation." Enlightenment ideals. The Enlightenment played a crucial role in shaping revolutionary thought. Philosophers such as John Locke, Montesquieu, and Rousseau emphasized individual rights, self-governance, and the social contract. These ideas influenced American leaders like Thomas Jefferson and James Madison in crafting foundational documents like the Declaration of Independence and the U.S. Constitution. British military presence. The presence of British troops in the colonies, especially after the Quartering Act, 1765, increased tensions. Events like the Boston Massacre, 1773, and the Boston Tea Party, 1773, further fueled anti-British sentiment, making the call for independence inevitable. Major events of the American Revolution: Declaration of Independence, 1776. The Second Continental Congress adopted the Declaration of Independence, authored primarily by Thomas Jefferson. The document asserted the colony's right to self-rule and articulated principles of liberty and equality that would influence future revolutions. Key battles: Battle of Lexington and Concord, 1775. Marking the beginning of war. Battle of Saratoga, 1777, a turning point that convinced France to ally with the American colonists. Siege of Yorktown, 1781–1781, the decisive battle that led to British General Cornwallis's surrender and effectively ended the war. Treaty of Paris officially ended the war, recognizing the United States as an independent nation. Britain ceded vast territories, paving the way for westward expansion and the establishment of a new political order. Political impact: birth of modern democracy. The American Revolution introduced the idea that governments should be based on the consent of the governed. The U.S. Constitution, 1787, established a republic with a system of checks and balances, influencing democratic movements worldwide. Rise of democracy and republicanism. The American Revolution introduced new political ideologies that would redefine governance. The establishment of a republic based on democratic principles challenged the prevailing monarchies and aristocracies of Europe. The United States Constitution, 1787, and the Bill of Rights, 1791, became blueprints for other nations seeking self-governance. The emphasis on individual freedoms, separation of powers, and a government accountable to the people were revolutionary concepts at the time. Influence on the French Revolution. The success of the American Revolution had a direct influence on the French Revolution, 1789–1799. French citizens, inspired by the American fight for liberty, sought to overthrow their own monarchy and establish a republic. The American Declaration of Independence served as a model for the French Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen, 1789, which emphasized equality, liberty, and fraternity. This revolutionary wave led to the eventual decline of absolute monarchies across Europe, spread of nationalism and independence movements. The American Revolution also inspired independence movements in Latin America, Africa, and Asia. Latin American leaders such as Simón Bolívar and José de San Martín drew upon the American example in their fights against Spanish rule. Throughout the 19th and 20th centuries, colonial subjects worldwide looked to the United States as a symbol of self-determination, fueling movements that eventually led to decolonization after World War II. Inspiration for other revolutions. The success of the American Revolution inspired the French Revolution, 1789–1799, The French adopted many American revolutionary ideals, leading to the fall of the monarchy and the rise of democratic governance, 1808-1830. Leaders like Simón Bolívar and José de San Martín drew inspiration from the American fight for freedom. Economic impact shift away from mercantilism. Before the Revolution, Britain controlled colonial trade through mercantilist policies. Independence allowed the U.S. to establish free trade relationships, leading to economic diversification and expansion. Rise of capitalism. The Revolution helped shape the modern capitalist economy by encouraging entrepreneurship, individual economic freedom, and market-driven policies. The decline of European colonialism, Britain's defeat weakened its hold on global dominance, encouraging other colonies to question European rule. The financial strain on Britain due to the war contributed to political instability, affecting its ability to maintain control over its other colonies. Social and cultural impact. Abolitionist movements. Although the Revolution did not immediately end slavery, its ideals of liberty and equality laid the foundation for the abolitionist movement in the 19th century. The contradiction between slavery and revolutionary rhetoric spurred debates that would eventually lead to the Civil War. Women's rights. Women played significant roles during the Revolution, from managing homes and businesses to serving as spies and messengers. Figures like Abigail Adams advocated for women's rights, setting the stage for future suffrage movements. Native American and indigenous effects. From Native Americans faced displacement and loss of land as westward expansion intensified after the Revolution. Many had allied with the British, and their defeat led to broken treaties and increased marginalization. Human rights and abolitionist movements. The American Revolution planted the seeds for human rights advocacy. Though the U.S. did not immediately abolish slavery, revolutionary ideals of liberty and equality fueled the abolitionist movement. In the 19th century, activists used the Declaration of Independence's assertion that all men are created equal to argue against slavery. The American Civil War, 1861-1865, and subsequent abolition of slavery demonstrated the enduring impact of revolutionary principles. Indigenous and minority rights. While the Revolution championed freedom, Native Americans and African Americans faced continued oppression. However, the rhetoric of equality and liberty eventually contributed to civil rights movements in the 20th century, as activists drew upon revolutionary principles to advocate for social justice. Global influence, global impact. Spread of republicanism. The American Revolution popularized the idea that monarchies were not the only form of governance. Countries in Europe and beyond began questioning their ruling structures, leading to waves of reform and revolution. Impact on colonialism. The Revolution signaled the beginning of the end for European colonialism. Over the next 2 centuries, colonies across Africa, Asia, and Latin America fought for and gained independence, often citing the American struggle as inspiration. Revolutionary movements worldwide. The success of the American Revolution demonstrated that colonial rule could be overthrown, inspiring similar revolutions globally. The Haitian Revolution, 1791-1804, saw enslaved people in Saint-Domingue overthrow French colonial rule, creating the first free black republic. Latin American revolutions, 1810-1830, followed a similar trajectory, leading to the independence of numerous nations. Influence on constitutional development. The U.S. Constitution became a model for other nations, emphasizing democratic governance, the rule of law, and the protection of individual rights. Many countries adopted similar frameworks, shaping modern democracies worldwide. Impact on international relations. The American Revolution changed diplomatic dynamics, demonstrating that newly independent nations could assert themselves on the global stage. It led to the rise of the United States as a key player in international affairs and shifted power balances in Europe and beyond. Long-term effects on American society. Westward expansion and manifest destiny. Following independence, the U.S. rapidly expanded westward. The idea of manifest destiny, the belief that Americans were destined to expand across the continent, gained popularity, leading to further conflicts with Native American tribes and territorial acquisitions such as the Louisiana Purchase, 1803. Development of political parties. The revolution led to ideological debates about governance, giving rise to political factions. The Federalists, led by Alexander Hamilton, favored a strong central government, while the Democratic Republicans, led by Thomas Jefferson, championed states' rights. This division laid the foundation for the American political system. Industrialization and economic growth. The post-revolutionary period saw the beginnings of industrialization in the U.S. Innovations in textile manufacturing, transportation, steamboats, railroads, and agriculture spurred economic growth, transforming the young nation into an emerging industrial power. Lessons from the American Revolution. The Revolution demonstrated the power of collective action and the impact of ideology on governance. It showed that determined resistance against oppression could succeed, and that the ideals of freedom and self-governance could reshape nations. However, it also highlighted challenges such as the exclusion of women and minorities from full political participation, issues that would take centuries to address. Long-term consequences. The U.S. as a global power. The revolution laid the foundation for the U.S. to become a dominant global force. Its success in securing independence and establishing a stable government positioned it as a model for democratic governance, influencing world politics into the 21st century. Evolution of democratic ideals. Democracy continued to spread, with waves of democratization occurring throughout history, from post-World War II decolonization to the end of the Cold War. The principles established during the American Revolution remain relevant today, shaping discussions on governance, rights, and freedom worldwide. Conclusion. The American Revolution fundamentally reshaped the world by establishing the first modern democracy, inspiring revolutions across the globe, and laying the groundwork for economic and social change. Its influence continues to be felt in contemporary discussions on governance, human rights, and national sovereignty. By proving that a colony could overthrow a major world power, the revolution set a precedent for future movements seeking self-determination and democracy. Enjoyed the video? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more awesome content. Hit the bell.